welcome to More Than a Muse podcast. My name is Sadie.
I'm Stani, and welcome back to another week of March Madness. Happy Women's History Month.
Happy Women's History Month, another entry into our Media of Madness month. First week, we talked about talk shows and different moments that women have been, what's it called? Like the police light almost, like interrogation.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going for. We talked about the paparazzi last week. And then now today we're talking about scandals. This is not about a woman. This is about Timothy Chalamet. But
I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah. It felt relevant. And I was curious if you had seen, of course, the clip that was going around and had any thoughts on the discourse that was going on. Like, speaking of scandals.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know what he was trying to say.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a little lost in what he was intending, what his intended purpose was. Because I didn't watch the whole interview, but I watched the whole clip of what he was saying, and I was like, I don't really understand, sir. Like, what? What was your point? That, like, you don't want to work in ballet or opera and be handed something and told this is dying. And then was he comparing that to film having a hard time?
Okay, that's a really great point, is what was he saying? And in my opinion, he was saying that at one point he was fearful that movies were becoming a dying industry and that he wasn't interested in being in one kind of like opera or ballet. And I think that that's in reference to the whole conversation, which I admittedly didn't watch, but a lot of I know what they were talking about was about how they have to kind of go all in on these like marketing campaigns. And so I kind of think it was in reference to the fact that, yes, he does go crazy with the marketing campaigns in order to stop it from being kind of like a dying art medium, or he feels like that's what's required of him. That was my understanding of what he was saying.
That makes a little more sense. Because I've seen the clip like thousands of times, but I was just like, I still don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I was like, other than insulting ballet and opera, what are you trying to say here? So, yeah, I mean, I do think it was like a little harsh on him and from both sides, sort of. The backlash was interesting because a lot of people were like, how dare you say that? And then they turned around later and were like, oh, admittedly, I've never been to the ballet or the opera.
Okay.
So then it was like, okay.
So it kind of, yeah, okay. Stani, I feel really good about the fact that we have a podcast together because every time I ask you your thoughts on things, I'm like, okay, cool, we're aligned. Like, we agree.
Good.
Because I felt the same way of just being like, okay, and not to be like that guy of like, oh, you're wearing a Rolling Stones t-shirt, name 5 songs. But a little bit of me was like, name 5 operas.
Yeah. It's like, can you?
Can you name 5 operas? And if you can, congratulations. I feel like I barely can, and I studied classical music for a couple of years.
I don't think I can. I've been to one. I remember going to an opera, but I can't sit down and name 5 operas. Also, because a lot of the titles are in
other
Italian.
Languages. Yep. And I think that's a fair point. Yeah, I have been interested in kind of like the immediate knee-jerk backlash of it. To be completely honest, yeah, like of course he kind of came across as like a douche. I don't know.
Yeah.
For lack
and it
of a
was
better
like
word.
It was a really crappy thing to say.
It sounded like he was putting down those industries. But those are dying art forms in the sense of like they rely on a lot of donations and private fundings. And like people have joked that like they do Nutcracker every year and that's what funds the ballet for the rest of the year, right? Is like these productions that will bring in money. But it's like, yeah, when was the last time you went to a ballet that was not Swan Lake or the Nutcracker? I unfortunately think Timothy Chalamet had a point, and I feel like I'm crazy for it. But not because, like, he should have said it the way that he did. But, like, yeah. And I think it's valid to say, as an artist, I wouldn't enjoy being in that space. But, like, maybe say it between, like, your close friends, you know? Like, maybe not do it when you're one of the most famous people in the world and, like, you're gonna say it. I think a lot of people were talking about, too, like, the thing that rubbed them the wrong way is, like, well, there goes 14 cents in my viewership that he said right after that. Which, like, okay. I don't know, he's coming across as more unlikable lately, and I think that
Yes.
it was a good example of people being like, "Aha, I knew I didn't like him," and then being like, "And how dare he?" And it's like, "What about you?
Yeah.
Name
No, I
me an opera."
agree. I agree.
I don't know.
I saw someone who was like, they said the name an opera, and someone's immediate response was Phantom of the Opera. And it was like,
No, that doesn't
no.
count.
It was like, that is a musical. I was like, technically, I guess they do sing the whole time, but not the
Yeah.
same. He did kind of
Yeah.
have a point.
That's my hot take, 'cause I actually felt like
Mhm.
I understood what he was saying. Doesn't mean it was tactful.
No, it was very harsh and very rude
And,
and
like, he came across as just kind of like a
yeah, like a
bro.
total jerk.
Yeah.
But
But you
we
know
should
what it did?
all yeah.
It inspired me. I was like, "I should go to the ballet.
Mhm.
I should go check out and see what the Nashville Opera is up to. I should be doing those things."
Yeah, we
So
all should.
hope that inspired everybody to go check out what's going on
Yeah.
in your local communities. Because I think that's something that, like, maybe we forget that it's actually still out there. But even in smaller communities, like, if you have any type of city that's within, you know, an hour of you, like, surely there is some type of community theater program, arts program, symphony, orchestra, even might not be like a ballet or an opera, but they're there in your community and they're available for you to do it.
Mhm.
If you have a university that's near you, their music department is likely putting on shows constantly, even like student recitals, student productions. There's
Mhm.
actually so many ways that you could support these art mediums that don't get enough of mainstream credit. So, like,
Yeah.
go
No,
do
that's a
it.
great
Go
point.
learn
Yeah.
more.
If especially if, like, you're very passionate about the arts and not wanting them to die. If we're all, like,
Yeah.
nervous about movies and, like, everyone's going to buy movie tickets, and it's like, make sure we're buying other things too.
Mhm.
Yeah. No,
It's a good
very
way to
good
feel
point.
inspired too, is to go and, like, enjoy an art medium that you don't normally partake in. I feel like it's, like, a good way
Mhm.
to be like, "Oh, my personal well is dried up." Go to the opera. Go see a violin recital, you know?
Operas are fun. I went to
They are fun.
yours too.
I
You
was
were in
gonna
an
say, I
opera.
think you went to the one I went to. Yep. It was Deflator Mouse.
Mhm.
Great fun. The thing I'll say about operas, the most insane plots.
Well,
Bonkers.
that's true. They're like soap operas, basically.
They
That's probably
are
why they have the title.
Yep, exactly. They are truly soap operas that, like, when you learn the plot, it's like you have to, like, tie lines with strings and be like, "And they're this, and they're this," and sometimes you have to be like, "And why would they do that?" And it's like, that's just
Mhm.
because they're gonna feel really passionately about this." You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, the stakes are really high at all times, but they're always a good time. And
They are.
often they're translated into English. The one that I did, it was an original German opera that was translated into English. And then they also added dialogue to it to hopefully, make it a little bit easier for the audience to, like, a little bit more
Digested.
digestible. Exactly.
Yeah,
And I know
definitely.
I've been to operas as well where, like, it was Romeo and Juliet in French. They put the subtitles above in English so you could know exactly where you were at in the story. And then, of course,
Mhm.
with it being Romeo and Juliet, most people are vaguely enough aware of that story that it's okay that there's not English dialogue in between everything,
Yeah,
that following along and reading the subtitles and then just enjoying the music is enough. Anyways, there's
definitely.
digestible ways to go to the opera. Oftentimes people will in those fields will try to make it more accessible because they're aware that it's kind of a hard one just to go casually jump in and be able to fully enjoy. So I think it's very possible that something's happening in your area that
Oh,
it's
definitely.
there. So go
I'm
check it
pretty
out.
sure every major city has a ballet company. So,
Probably.
yeah, I think even Salt Lake City has one, and we're not, like,
There's Salt Lake City Opera too.
huge. Yeah, so there's definitely options out there. So, like Sadie mentioned at the top of the episode, we're talking about scandals today, and specifically a lot of the double standards that exist within them whenever a scandal happens online. If there's a man and a woman involved, the woman always tends to get the brunt of everything that's happening.
Yeah.
So, we're talking about Janet Jackson and the Super Bowl incident, Angelina Jolie and the Brad and Ben breakup
Mm,
scenario. Sinead
yes.
O'Connor and her burning the picture of the Pope, and Winona Ryder and the shoplifting incident. So,
Some
Lots of
scandals.
scandals. And I feel like these are pretty big ones. So to start out with Janet Jackson, I remember this. Do you remember this happening?
No, I didn't remember learning about this until Justin Timberlake did the Super Bowl again. And then people started talking about that it was so messed up that Justin Timberlake was back to do this because of what happened with Janet Jackson. To which then I said, "What?" Looked it
What
up.
happened to Janet Jackson?
Yeah, and was appalled, of course, by the double standard that I know you're going to talk about of just being like,
Yes.
"Yeah, why is he back to do the Super Bowl again?" But she's not. Doesn't seem right.
It's honestly ridiculous the amount of publicity and everything that this incident got. Like, I
Mhm.
know it was a relatively big deal, but wow,
It
it
was
has
live
its
TV. Yeah.
yes. It has its own Wikipedia page.
Yeah, that's
And it's
crazy.
a very long Wikipedia page. And so basically what happened is during the 2004 Super Bowl halftime show, Janet Jackson, who was headlining, was with Justin Timberlake at the time. They were singing a duet, Rock Your Body, right? And then at the end, they had done like an impromptu choreography change where Justin
Oh, no.
Timberlake was supposed to rip off part of her, it wasn't really a shirt. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Mhm.
Yeah. Rip off part of her top. And then underneath it was going to show like her red bra that had been like poking out, kind of. But
Got it.
instead, what had happened is it came with it. And when he ripped it off, all her boob was exposed to live television at the very end.
Truly, like, that is a mistake.
Yes.
Oops.
Yeah.
Terrible.
She had pasties on, I think, so it wasn't like a
Oh,
complete
yeah.
yeah. But at the same time, it like wasn't supposed to happen. No one had
Uh-huh.
approved this choreography. It was a mistake. And so it led to a lot of problems. A lot of problems.
So many problems.
So many problems. The incident is sometimes referred to as Nipplegate or Janetgate, which I think
Mhm.
shows the double standard right in it being called Janetgate.
When
And
who
led
was the one who pulled the top off?
yes. It wasn't her. It led to immediate crackdown and widespread discourse on perceived indecency in broadcasting. The term wardrobe malfunction was actually coined as a result of this incident, which I did not know. We have that term, a wardrobe
Because of
malfunction,
Janet Jackson and
because of
Justin
Janet
Timberlake.
Jackson. Yeah.
Wow. Crazy.
I know. So that one was crazy. And it was added to the Merriam-Webster Collegiate Dictionary because of that. So wardrobe malfunction came from that Super Bowl incident. The YouTube co-founder actually credits the incident with leading to the creation of the video sharing website because so many people were trying to look up the clip. And it also made Janet Jackson the most searched person and term of 2004 and 2005 and broke the record for most searched event over one day.
The domino effect of YouTube being created because Justin Timberlake tore off her top is crazy.
Yeah. It's insane. It also became the most watched, recorded, and replayed television moment in TiVo history and enticed an estimated 35,000 new TiVo subscribers to sign up. Like, everyone saw this. Everybody. It's so
That's
crazy.
so gross.
Yeah. And just, like, wanted to watch it again, which,
That's
the
thing. I'm like, I don't like that.
Nope. Of course, following the incident, the NFL cut ties with MTV, who had been producing the halftime show for the Super Bowl for years,
Ooh.
and excluded the network from future halftime shows. That ended MTV's contract with the NFL. In addition, the CBS parent company, Viacom, and its co-owned subsidiaries, MTV and Infinity Broadcasting, enforced a blacklist of Jackson singles and music videos on many radio formats and music channels worldwide. Which I'm like, was that necessary to blacklist her?
Also, because what about Justin Timberlake? Like,
Yeah.
that is just the craziest piece of it. Like, sure, it was her boob, but who did it? Who messed up? He did it. It's crazy.
It's insane. Like, There's an entire documentary about the event as well, which I didn't have time to watch, but it's called Malfunction, the dressing down of Janet Jackson. So definitely, if you want to hear about the entire incident again, it's there. And like you mentioned, it just was not proportional.
Mm-hmm.
Timberlake was referred to as the Teflon Man at the Grammy Awards because the incident didn't affect him at all. And
Wow.
media coverage overwhelmingly minimized his role in it, mentioning him only in passing, if at all. So, like, not even mentioning the fact that, like, he was there and that it happened because of something he did. Regardless of the fact that it was a mistake, he was the one who did it.
Yeah, like, and obviously an accident. Like, things happen.
Yeah.
Crazy.
In an interview he did with MTV, he did talk about the fact that the huge backlash Jackson suffered, he himself received only about 10% of the blame. And he accused American society of that, saying that it was harsher on women and unfairly harsh on ethnic people. But kind
Hmm.
of let it slide right off of him. And like you mentioned earlier, he would eventually be given a second chance and be invited back to the Super Bowl halftime show as the headlining act in February 2018. During his performance, he again sang a portion of Rock Your Body, the same song that he was singing, but stopped right before reaching the Gonna Have You Naked by the end of the song lyric, saying, "Hold up, stop," and smiling as a reference to the 2004 incident.
Ugh.
Um, it did receive mixed reviews and ratings declined after losing more than 10 million viewers in the United States from the Lady Gaga headline edition the year prior, which makes me happy. So everyone was kind of like, you don't deserve to have a second chance after all of this. If Janet Jackson doesn't get a second chance, neither should you.
Neither should you. That's
Yeah.
funny.
He has apologized publicly to both Britney Spears and Janet Jackson after the documentary framing Britney Spears came out in 2021 in an Instagram post pledging to take accountability and said, "I can and will do better." I don't like Justin Timberlake.
In 2021 is
Yeah.
crazy. Like, how many years was in between all of those events that now you're gonna say, "I can and will do better"? How? You don't talk to either of those women anymore.
Mm.
What do you mean? Oh my,
And it's
it's
like
so
he could
embarrassing.
have taken more accountability for it. At the Grammys, he went up and gave a speech because he won a Grammy, I think, right after the incident, and was like, "This has been a hard week for everyone. Thanks." And then like took the Grammy, and it was just like, huh? And then meanwhile, she's getting blacklisted by MTV.
Like, they won't even
And
play her music anymore, and he's just like,
yes.
"Look at my trophy, everybody. Isn't it pretty?" I agree. There's
It's
something just very
so
punchable about Justin Timberlake, and you know what? Like,
yeah.
I'm saying on the podcast, like, you can quote me on that. That can be
Mhm.
recorded. I won't punch him. There's
No,
something
I won't
punchable
either.
about him, though.
Do you
I don't like
remember
him.
when he got arrested, I think a few years ago, and then he was like,
This is
"This is
gonna
gonna ruin
ruin
the
the
tour."
tour. What
They're like,
tour? The
"The
world
world
tour.
tour." I just feel like
Ah.
he's never learned from any of
No.
the mistakes he's made.
No. In fact, one of my favorite pieces of the Britney Spears autobiography that we talked about last week was the fact that there's a couple stories in there that just roast Justin Timberlake, and almost in like the most subtle ways as well, of just like
Mhm.
describing these interactions that he has with people, and you just being like, what a weirdo. I
Yeah.
just I don't like him. I don't like him at all.
Yeah, not a big fan. There were like a couple of quotes that I wanted to share. Michael Musto of the Village Voice commented on the media's reaction to the incident, saying, "Janet became a symbolic Joan of Arc to burn at the stake. I actually do think her breast was used as a diversionary tactic. I'm not sure to distract from Iraq. Hold on, I'll get to this in a minute. Iraq specifically. But
Uh-huh.
it did distract from important issues, from things we actually should be appalled by. The story got an undue amount of attention when the fact is nobody had proved how her breast harmed anyone," which is a good point. How did it harm anybody? Um,
Especially when the nipple was covered. I mean, like, not that if it was uncovered it would be different, but there was a pasty.
mhm.
I don't know. It was an
It
accident.
was. It was just an accident. And should they have changed the choreography last minute before checking in with the team? Probably not. But,
But oh well.
Yeah, oh, well, it happened, and it was an accident. And, yeah, there was a rumor going around that all of it was to distract from the ongoing war in Iraq, which was happening at the time. The
Mm.
previous war in Iraq.
Yeah, 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 yeah. The previous war in the Middle East.
They were saying that, this had all been intentionally done in order to distract,
Mm.
to get the media talking about something else, which is funny that that happens all the time. People are like, "Oh, this is a media distraction." And
Yeah.
in a way, like, it did. Jackson herself talked about the fact that, like, it's hard to believe that there's a war and famine going on in the world, and yet people made such a big deal about a breast.
Yeah.
But saying, like, she didn't pull a stunt, she wasn't doing it intentionally, but in a way, like, it did distract from things that were going on because
Yeah.
everyone's attention was drawn in this direction instead of paying attention to other things that were happening.
Yeah, I feel like the conspiracy to me isn't like, "Oh, was she in on it with Justin Timberlake?" Like, are they in,
Mhm.
cahoots with the government? But I think there's definitely a point of there was some capitalization that was going on of like, "Oh, we can run with this, let's
Mhm.
see how this goes." I think that, like, most commonly, I'm seeing that even in just, like, TikTok comment section for, like, any new absurd news source or even, like, big major things where people will respond like, "Oh, the Epstein files must be really bad then." Like, kind of accusing, like, all these new big things happening in the world as, like, a distraction from the Epstein files.
Mhm.
I don't really know if I have much commentary on that, to be honest, but, like, I'm just kinda seeing the comparison, of the, like,
Mhm.
using certain things that are happening in the media to distract it from what they don't actually want you to know about, like with Iraq, or I guess, like, some people are accusing with the Epstein files. It's interesting, and sometimes I do wonder, I'm like, what is true,
Yeah.
Could it be true, some of these things? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, regardless, it's seizing an opportunity,
That's the
right?
thing. I
Yeah.
don't think it's ever just like I said, like, Janet Jackson was paid by the government to do this. But I'm sure there's some, like, "Oh, how nice. We're gonna
Yep, use
talk
that
about this a
one.
lot."
Yeah,
Yeah. Who knows?
definitely. Yeah, that is kind of the whole thing. Michael Powell, who's the FCC chairman a couple of years ago, has talked about, "I think we've been removed from this long enough to let me tell you, I had to put my best version of outrage on that I could put on. Part of it was surreal, right? Look, I think it was dumb to happen, and they knew the rules and they were flirting with them, and my job is to
Mhm.
enforce the rules. But, really, this is what we're gonna do? The treatment of Jackson, who was lambasted for causing an outrageous stunt, was unfair, and Timberlake did not receive the same backlash. I
Yeah.
personally thought that that was really unfair. It all turned into being about her. In reality, if you slow the thing down, it is Justin ripping off of her breastplate."
Yep. It's like, if something went wrong, somebody has to take the fall for it. Someone has to be held responsible, and they all just decided that was Janet, and that's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So crazy, though, the amount of attention and stuff that you can still find about that
Mhm.
incident today when
Yeah.
and the domino effect, like you said. Insane on that
Who
one.
would have thought? Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to talk about Sinead O'Connor. Did you know about what happened with SNL and her performance?
Nope. I had
I
no clue.
didn't either. Okay. So, to tell the story, she was scheduled to be on Saturday Night Live, and she was originally scheduled to sing Scarlet Ribbons from a new album. A day prior to the taping for SNL, though, she decided that she was going to sing an a cappella rendition of Bob Marley's War, where she changed the sixth and seventh verses to criticize child abuse, sexual abuse in the Catholic Church rather than racism, which is what the original song lyrics said. Quote, "Until the ignoble and unhappy regime which holds all of us through child abuse has been toppled, utterly destroyed, until that day there is no continent that will know peace. Children, children, we find it necessary, we know we will win, we have confidence in the victory of good over evil." During the rehearsal, she held up a picture of a refugee child. Okay, so it's not like it was completely unscripted. They knew that she was gonna
Mhm.
do this a cappella number. But then, during the live recording, she held up a picture of Pope John Paul II, and as she sang the final word, evil, she ripped up the image and threw it at the camera, saying, "Fight the real enemy." Bold.
Powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on record. I'm bold. I'm here for it. The studio audience remained silent, as producer Lorne Michaels had ordered the applause sign to the live crowd not be used. And as you can imagine, the fallout was immediate. NBC received hundreds of complaints and eventually banned O'Connor from the network for life. She was very well known for being a controversial figure, but I think this is the one that really did it. When you tear up a photo of the Pope at SNL, when you sing the word evil, that's pretty crazy. A cool story, though, that I do want to bring up is that 13 days after the SNL broadcast, she was booked to perform at Bob Dylan's 30th anniversary concert at Madison Square Garden. At this concert, Chris Christopherson, he actually came out. So this is the 30th anniversary Bob Dylan concert. Came out to introduce O'Connor. Quote, "I'm real proud to introduce this next artist whose name's become synonymous with courage and integrity," he said. "Ladies and gentlemen," and he introduced her. Unfortunately, what happened, though, is there was a flood of booze that filled Madison Square Garden the moment that she took the stage. The band started to play Dylan's song, "I Believe in You," but they were overpowered by the booze. Chris Christopherson came out again to kind of like hopefully encourage her, I'm assuming. And the band tried again, but then she signaled for them to stop. She then sang a portion of Bob Marley's War, just as she had on SNL, before she ran off the stage and into the arms of Chris Christopherson. What's crazy, though, is that, like, I feel like it showed, like, the public was not going to move on for that. I mean, sure, it was only 13 days after that, but I really feel like this marked her in such an intense way. And as I was trying to think of a male equivalent, because like there are like Joe Strummer is an example of kind of like a more rebellious like rocker. And I think like male rock musicians in general, they criticize governments, they do these things, I don't know, to like be rebellious, and in their music it's very like anti-establishment, but I was trying to Google like most controversial performances by rock stars. And like the thing that I got was Ozzy Osbourne biting a bat's head off, which crazy, by the way. Apparently it was already a dead bat, so it's fine, I guess.
What?
Don't worry, he didn't kill the bat. It was already dead. I'm still concerned.
Yeah, still gross.
Point is, there was the part of me that I was like, so are they cowards then? Like, are they not doing anything that's actually going to be talked about? Because, like, they're seen as rebels. They're seen as people who are, like, fighting the system. But then I'm like, but how? What are they doing, though? How are they doing it? How are they being, like, how are they fighting the system, really? And I couldn't really find ways.
I can think of one. I don't know if it's necessarily like a rock star, but Green Day has been like really vocal.
Okay, yes, Green Day is one that maybe did come up, especially with the song "American Idiot." I mean,
yes,
pretty
American
pretty
Idiot,
obvious.
They've changed the lyrics to "I don't want to be a part of the MAGA agenda," which they didn't perform that at the Super Bowl.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, when it counts, they don't do it. And she was on stage at SNL and she held a picture up of the Pope. I mean, regardless of if you think it's right, like, she took a stance and she went bold with it. And she said, here is my platform, here is my chance. And this is more important than commercial success for me. I don't know. I was thinking, I'm like, okay, like there's definitely like the Beatles, you know, they've written songs, they put out songs. John Lennon, Imagine. Bob Dylan was also known to be this rebel, you know. But I don't know. I'm like, if anyone's listening and can point to these major moments, But
Yeah.
all of the articles that I was Googling of like controversial live performances, most of it was women. Most of them were by women. And some of them, it was like, just people blowing things out of proportion. And again, part of me was, I'm like, so do men just have nothing to say? I don't know.
Maybe
Where's the
not.
courage? Where's the fortitude? Where is the
Yeah.
standing on your principles? I don't know.
Just bite off a bat's head instead.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
That is
Rest in
horrifying.
peace, Ozzy Osbourne, but woof, gross.
That's so disgusting.
I don't like it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
But anyways,
that's a very good point.
that's all that I couldn't even find a male equivalent. And I think when you read it, it's easy to be like, oh well, then yeah, I guess I mean, she did a very bold thing, but it definitely affected her career. Like, I think she was seen as that, but also I don't think she was upset by that. I think she was very, like, she continued to be very expressive in her opinions. And I think even now is seen as like a pretty controversial person. I think another thing to keep in mind is that, like, if someone is controversial this way, like, they're usually not always going to behave in the way that you think that they should, But like, it's just what happens when you're a principled human being.
Yeah.
You might not even get it right every time, but like, they're always going to be true to what they think is right. And that's a virtue in itself.
Definitely. I agree.
Anyways, and it makes me want to learn more about her because I've realized
Yeah.
I know the name. I've heard she was like, a controversial figure. I didn't know she tore up a photo of the Pope on Saturday Night Live. That's crazy.
Oh my gosh. I can't even
crazy with
imagine that
affection.
happening now. Yeah.
No. That's another thing. I think that sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, pop culture is crazy now. These people are outrageous. No.
No, they're not.
These people are tame and
Yeah.
commercialized. Like, no. Bring back the artists. Like, we've talked about this. Like, people can't handle Chapel Roan because she is just proving how much we want our pop stars and our artists to be the media trained, perfect. Because as soon as Chaperone isn't acting like perfectly accommodating to everyone at all times, they're like, oh, she's so ungrateful. She's such a Karen. Gag me.
I saw a
can't.
video today that was like, she could pay a team to make it so that she doesn't have to deal with the paparazzi. I don't know why she's making such a big deal about the paparazzi. And it's like, maybe because you shouldn't have to pay a team to make people go away.
Thank you. I've seen both sides of this where someone's like, well, we don't know where Adele is. We don't know where Zendaya is. We don't know where all these people are. So, like, it's obvious that if they didn't want to be found, they wouldn't be found. And I'm like, that's probably because they're not outside very often. And I think it's crazy that I'm like, why are we siding with the paparazzi that are hounding her? Like, obviously, we're in the wrong if we're siding with the paparazzi. Sure, it's part of fame. It's part of everything. I don't know. I think it's so reasonable to say that, like, yeah, I think famous people should be able to walk around without getting harassed.
I agree.
To say, like, no, we have a right. That's how those paparazzi people make their money. That's their job. No.
Not a real job. Sorry.
We can encourage people to find better, more ethical professions, I fear.
They own a really great camera. They should go become a photographer somewhere else.
Yeah, they could do it.
I
I am never gonna get on board with any type of chaperone hate. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yep. Sometimes she does things that make me cringe a little, but then I'm like, she's a human.
That's the thing. I don't have to like everything she does. I'm not gonna publicly comment on it though. I'll text you about it. I'm not making a TikTok.
Definitely not. Oh man. The next one we're talking about is Angelina Jolie. And honestly, Jennifer Aniston and the Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston breakup. It was a divorce, which I did not realize they were married. I don't know if I just missed that. They were married for 5 years.
Wow, yeah.
Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt. And during the mid 2000s, they broke up, got divorced. And then shortly afterwards, Brad Pitt was seen with his co-star from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Angelina Jolie, in numerous places, doing photo shoots together. hanging out with her kid, just like all of this stuff. And the public reacted very, very harshly. Honestly, on both women, but especially on Angelina Jolie. And there's like a couple of reasons. First off, like Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston were very beloved.
Mm-hmm.
They were very, very beloved. He had been called the sexiest man in the world. She was known as America's sweetheart. She was just ending her 10-year run on Friends. And then she and Pitt had been vowing to start a family when the television series was finished. So they were talking about having kids together. And
Wow.
everyone was like, wow, the golden family of America.
Oh.
And then they got divorced. And then the rumors started. And it just kind of became a media circus. For some reason, there was like a rumor that started that Jennifer Aniston wouldn't have a kid with Brad Pitt, and that's why he divorced her. And that Angelina Jolie was like willing to. And I think they even ended up having a baby like shortly after getting together. That wasn't true. Jennifer Aniston did a very heartbreaking interview that I read the full thing of, where she was like, no, I want to have kids. I don't want to give up that dream. I still have that dream, which is so sad because she still hasn't had kids. So then it made me feel even more heartbroken for
There's
her.
like a story that she told about how Adam Sandler like sends her flowers on every Mother's Day because like they're really good friends, and I'm just like, wow, that's a good friend actually.
Yeah, that is a good friend. That's so sad.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it like made my heart break for her because she was talking about how like so many people were turning against her and like, well, if she doesn't want to have children with him, she's more focused on her career, then like of course he has to go find someone else. Which is like, no. First off, no, but second off, that wasn't even true.
I hate it.
This is so frustrating. So it led to a lot of that for her, which was of course really hard to hear after you're ending a marriage. And then she had to keep reiterating to the media over and over again that it was an amicable divorce. So she had to keep saying it was amicable. It was amicable. It was amicable. Like we ended on good terms. Everything's fine. He did not cheat on me. But the fact of the matter is that he did get together with his co-star very, very shortly after. And that couldn't have been very fun for her.
Poor Jennifer.
Yeah. And then Angelina Jolie and all of it just got so much hate because then she was seen as like the home wrecker, the seductress that broke up the most beloved couple in America. Just didn't help that they weren't keeping a low profile. They were seen like on the beach together. He was seen hanging out with their adopted son. They did a photo shoot together with like fake children in the photo shoot. Which, come on, guys, like, it's so tasteless, like, so bad. So they just kind of seemed to be flaunting their relationship. But instead of getting mad at Brad, no one was. They were all mad at Jennifer. Well, they were all mad at Angelina Jolie. There even was a Hollywood boutique that had Team Aniston and Team Jolie t-shirts.
Ew.
And they said that the Aniston ones were outselling the Team Jolie t-shirts of a margin of 25-1.
Nice. I mean, it's terrible that it even happened that way. Oh, no.
Oh my gosh. But can you imagine like profiting off of such a horrendous thing like this and then pitting the women against each other? And I think that just happens way too often in these sort of situations where at the end of the day, like Angelina, yes, it was not a smart move on her part, but who is technically responsible for making sure that they like made everything like look good at the ending of their marriage? Brad Pitt. Like,
yeah, he was there. He was the guy, in fact.
And he was in both scenarios, and he should have known. He should have known that this would look bad and that it was mean and that he needed to behave better for a couple months.
Mean.
Yeah, like it was just rude and really, really awful. And then, of course, they would go on to get married and everything and have kids.
Now be divorced.
And now be divorced. But it just was very, very badly done, and Brad Pitt got none of the hate.
Yeah. Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much. The last scandal we're going to talk about is Winona Ryder. And we've actually talked about this a little bit because for one of our October episodes, a whole episode on Winona Ryder, the queen of Halloween, dare I say, where we talked a lot about this shoplifting incident. And we're going to compare it to Robert Downey Jr. So for some context here, for what happened with Winona Ryder. In 2001, she was arrested on shoplifting charges in Beverly Hills, California, accused of stealing $5,500 worth of designer clothes and accessories from a Saks Fifth Avenue department store. They created a team. They filed 4 felony charges against her. She hired a celebrity defense attorney. Negotiations failed to produce a plea bargain in the summer of 2002. They insisted on charging her with a felony rather than a misdemeanor because of like the dollar amount that was stolen. Joe Mowbray from National Review noted that the prosecution also refused the store's own request to drop the charges.
Oh my
People were
gosh.
hell-bent on making sure she got her consequences for this. She was also accused of using drugs such as oxycodone, diazepam, and Vitakin without a valid prescription. But prosecutors dropped a drug possession count after it was proved that a doctor indeed provided them to her as a medical treatment. But she was convicted of grand theft and shoplifting and acquitted on the charge of burglary. In December 2002, she was sentenced to 3 years of probation, 480 hours of community service, $3,700 in fines, and $6,355 in restitution to the store in order to attend psychological training, counseling, and drug counseling. She later explained that the incident occurred during a difficult time in her life, but she was clinically depressed. She added that the pain-killing medication was from a, quote, quack physician that had just prescribed her, that clouded her judgment. Fun fact is that medical professional actually did in fact get his medical license revoked by the Medical Board of California for unethically prescribing medications to his patients. So
Yikes.
that was in fact very true. What's crazy though is that this event, which should have she stolen $5,000 worth of stuff from a store? Of course
No,
not.
of
I'm not
course
here
not.
to argue on behalf of shoplifting, but I will say that it was the backlash was pretty intense. Major tabloid humiliation and a prolonged career freeze. I mean, I think now obviously she's definitely had her big comeback, especially with Stranger Things, you know. That
Yeah.
was a really big one for her. And also too, like, I want to be delicate with comparing it to Robert Downey Jr. because there is, pretty intense like drug use and like addiction problems here. And I don't want to also, I don't know, I don't want to like be accusatory towards that. And especially because like it seems like he has, done a lot of work to recovery.
Mhm.
And I also know that his career was affected for a while and that like Iron Man, once he was casted in that, it was definitely a turning point for him and kind of felt like, okay, cool, like we're taking a chance on him. The thing that I did notice with reading about what was happening with Robert Downey Jr. is, first off, like he was arrested for some pretty intense things. Like in 1996, he was arrested for possession of heroin, cocaine, crack cocaine, and an unloaded handgun while speeding down Sunset Boulevard. A month later, while under the influence of a controlled substance, he entered neighbor's home through an unlocked front door and fell asleep in one of their beds, a child's bed, I think. Family declined to press charges. He spent a year in prison and then was released in 2000 on the condition of posting bail. The judge ruled that his cumulative time in incarceration facilities from his initial 1996 arrest qualified him for early release. And then a week after this release, he joined the cast of the television series Ally McBeal as the new love interest. And that was like kind of the trend that I noticed with him,
Mhm.
is that like when a lot of this stuff was happening, he was still working. Like, he would get out of jail and then immediately go be casted in something. But then things would happen, of course, and he would have to, like, he'd go back to jail or, like, things would happen. But it was, like, kind of interesting to see the difference here with, like, Winona Ryder. It's, like, this one big incidence of shoplifting and, some drug use that was, like, well, I mean, we later found out was prescribed by a doctor. And it completely froze and stalled her career and became this whole tabloid
For
thing.
like a decade.
Yeah, for a really long
Yeah.
time, it affected her. When, like, Robert Downey Jr., like, of course there were consequences here, and I don't wanna, like, take that away, but it was really striking to read that, like, while a lot of this was happening, he'd, like, get out of jail, go film something, get out of jail, go film something, and it
Yeah.
was kind of interesting to see that difference, and, like, I don't know if, like, it felt like the media was easier on him, like, I wasn't aware of the media at the time that this was happening in the early
Mhm.
2000s, you know? So it was interesting. And of course, now, you know, he is this face of a $1 billion franchise. And I think this narrative that is sold by him is one of like this amazing redemptive arc, this like comeback and resilience, where hers is kind of maybe more seen as like she was in like a weakened state and she was so fragile and it was like her fall. And now we're giving her a second chance with Stranger Things, you know? It's like
Yeah.
a slight different messaging with it. And like maybe it's because his low was so extreme, actually, you know, that like, okay, it is amazing. And like, you know, like I said, I want to be delicate here because like it seems
Yeah,
like he's
definitely.
really done a lot
No,
of
he
work
did a
here.
great
Yeah.
a great thing.
Like he did a good thing for him. I'm applauding that. But it is interesting to see those two incidences happening right at the same time be kind of whoop very
Treated
differently
very differently.
perceived differently,
Yeah.
yeah, and see how it kind of went on to affect their careers even in those moments, you know? It seems like people were very willing and really wanted Robert Downey Jr. to have more chances. I don't know if it's because he was a little bit more established in the industry, you know, and people had very intimate relationships with him. Winona Ryder was still very young, but also she started out really young in the industry as well. So it's not
Mhm.
like, you know, it was like her first role and she went and has this whole shoplifting scandal. So
Yeah.
interesting though, and very
Very
sad on
interesting.
both of their parts. But hey, I mean, I'm glad that at least both of them have the happy story of like, you know, Winona had her moment. Robert Downey Jr. obviously, he's so iconic in the Marvel universe that apparently they're bringing him back after they killed him as a new character. I don't know what's going on there though.
Oh gosh, I've given up on Marvel. I
Me too.
watched until the end of Infinity War and then I was like, can't do anymore. It's done.
I watched the Endgame one.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I think that's what it's called. Yeah. After that though, I think I watched some of WandaVision. That was fun.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's too much. Too much to
That's
keep
too
track
much.
of.
It got too complicated.
I just feel like that after you like half of the world's population disappears and then you manage to bring them back and like save the ultimate bad guy from space, it's like hard to raise the stakes after that to me that
Yeah.
it's like I don't know, how do you beat that?
And you
I
kill
don't
like
know.
half of your main cast. And it's like,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
they ended it really well and then they were like, "Wait, but money?" I don't know.
Yeah. It's like, oh, but that was such a good ending.
I know. Another quick example of
Mhm.
a scandal where the woman got the brunt of it, I think a little bit more than the man did, was when Miley Cyrus and Robin Thicke performed We Can't Stop and Blurred Lines. I think though that the public opinion has very quickly swayed back in real time. Like back when it happened in 2013, everyone was like, "How dare Miley Cyrus? That was so inappropriate." Now, I mean, what's Robin Thicke up to? I don't know. And we're about to get the 20-year special of Hannah Montana with Miley Cyrus.
Yes.
I think we came around pretty quickly on that one and realized that we were pointing fingers pretty heavily on the wrong person. But anyways, that was another one that came to mind where I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that was a recent one." Like that's
Mhm.
that's the one I was around for.
Yeah. I completely forgot about that. That's
Mhm.
crazy.
With
Yeah,
her
that
foam
was an
finger.
insane one. Yeah. People freaked out about that for,
Freaked out.
yep, for a while.
Long time. Anyways, so there's some scandals. I'll admit it's fun to read about them. They are quite
Yeah.
scandalous, quite exciting.
Yep. But it's a good, I think, to just remember the frame of reference, of course.
Mhm.
Of course, I feel like I'm sounding like a lecturing parent. But just to keep in mind that, like, when scandals happen, are we, like, pointing fingers at the right person? Do we even need to be pointing
Yeah.
fingers? Like, are we giving as much attention to the person that should be
Mhm.
getting punished for it as we are everyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah, just remember that and maybe pay attention to how we treat women in scandals a lot more often.
Especially when there is also a man
Yes,
involved.
involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, to end the episode, we love doing our mezzanine moment, which is just shouting out a woman artist that we think either deserves some credit or just that we've recently fallen in love with.
Mhm.
We're always here to shout out women artists. So, of course, we're staying true to our values here.
Yes.
So, the artist that I am going to shout out today is Joni Mitchell, which I'm not here to say, you know, she's not unsung. People know and they love Joni Mitchell. But I will say I feel like I'd obviously heard of Joni Mitchell being one of the greats, and I was never going to argue with it. Like, of course, Blue by Joni Mitchell is one of the best albums of all time, but like when I listened to it, I felt like it didn't like click or resonate. Like I was like, yeah, like okay, this is of course objectively amazing, but like I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't for me. I didn't get it. And then a couple weeks ago at work, it was a Friday, and we were just like sharing and playing albums, and someone said, "What about a Joni record?" I said, "What Joni record?" And they said, "Ladies of the Canyon." Ladies of the Canyon is my favorite. I had never listened to that album. So we turned it on and I'm working, and I feel like all of a sudden it clicked, that I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, this is Joni Mitchell. This is what this is what people are talking about." It finally made sense. And there's a certain song called "The Circle Game" that ends the album, and I remember I turned to my coworker, and she's, like, a huge fan of Joni Mitchell, like, named her dog after Joni,
Cute.
and I was just like, "What is this song?" Like, "What?" And my whole yeah. And I just had the whole album on repeat for the whole week after. So, I think that's a fun thing about art sometimes
Mm-hmm.
is you never know when the artist or the art is finally going to hit you. And I don't know if it's just that, now that I'm like a 28-year-old woman, finally something in a Joni Mitchell album hit for me in the way it just like wasn't going to with the way and the person I was at 18 or 19. Shout out to the 18 and 19-year-olds out there who Joni Mitchell did click for them immediately. It didn't for
Yeah.
me. But yeah, it's an exceptional album. I Her storytelling is just so excellent, and the way she sings those songs, I just understood it. I was like, "All right, I get the hype." And I haven't gone and listened to any more albums. I feel like I, like, don't even need to at this point because 'cause I'm just still, like, wanting to analyze
Mm-hmm.
and dissect this one, but I got it. I get the hype now. I
Yeah.
understand what's going on here, and it was
I
incredible.
love that. My album for January was Blue, and I loved
Okay.
it. And some of the songs I was like, yes, but I didn't have that like click moment. So I'm
Yeah.
like, maybe I need to give this one a shot.
I really liked this one, and because same thing, like, I'm sure it is the best album. I understand its cultural
Yeah.
importance, but Blue as a whole, it just
I read an
wasn't
article
working.
where someone was like traveling while they listened to Blue, and they said it was like
Mm.
perfect because Joni Mitchell was traveling when she wrote it. And I was like, maybe
Uh,
that would yes, maybe if I was traveling the south of France, having a Mamma Mia moment, like Joni Mitchell would be yes. But
mhm.
yeah, so maybe that's it.
Maybe that's it. It's like Solar Power by Lord. I'm not the biggest fan of that album, but the
Mhm.
one week that I was in Hawaii, I was like, "Yeah, I get it now."
Yeah.
I've never really
No, makes
listened to
sense.
it since, but it was perfect to listen to while I was in Hawaii.
Sometimes music requires a setting.
Mhm. For it to
Yeah.
make sense, and I think when you're in the mindset of the artist, the time you're like, "Oh, I get it."
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I was in a very, like, moody office building when I finally listened to Ladies of the Canyon, but it was good. It's a great album, so I
Yeah.
would recommend it.
Cool. Good to know.
And I guess a good
Great.
reminder that sometimes the albums and the art that will, influence and inspire us the most might not be the most popular one.
Mhm.
So, like, if you don't like the most popular one, like, go find what you like.
Me listening to Evermore every single year.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Correct.
That's my fall repeat.
You know what? And that's actually me with Midnights.
Yeah?
I
I love Midnights.
I wasn't a Midnights truther when it came out, and that album has aged remarkably well.
Yes, it did. It's
Remarkably.
it's a fun one. I really like
Mhm.
Midnights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, there's our moment
Yeah.
to end the episode.
And as a reminder, we have merch available. So go check it out. Sadie's wearing our Mids of Madness, and I have our Hysterical Society
Mhm.
crew on. Merch is on the website or on TikTok shop. If you want to buy it on there, you can.
Mhm.
And then we will have our last Media Madness episode next week, finishing out women's history in the month of March. So come back for one more. We'll be talking about TikToks and tabloid scandals. Well, not scandals, but you'll see. You'll
You'll
see.
see.
Come
You'll
back.
see. Yeah.
You'll see what we do. And we'll be back next week.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.